Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am back with my recipe book, Recipes from the World of Tolkien. Today we are watching the third movie, Return of the King, and we are making a very exciting recipe out of this book. We are making Sam's Coney Stew, which has a rabbit in it. Alright, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire. Welcome. Come on in, make yourselves comfortable. I love a good cookbook moment, whether it's one from a favorite franchise or vintage cookbooks from places I've traveled. If you are also a cookbook fan, make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out some of my other content. I have done two other recipes out of this book for the first and the second movie to kind of coincide with them. And we will be watching the third movie tonight, so I needed a good dinner, sort of like real filling recipe. I will leave links to the other two recipes I did from this book down below. All right, so we're making Sam's Coney Stew. Samwise'S Campfire Rabbit Stew provides one of the most iconic moments in The Lord of the Rings, providing a scene of comfort and a whiff of home for Frodo and Sam before the final stage of their journey across the mountains into Mordor. Sam bewails the lack of good stock and taters, but he does manage to gather a few herbs to add some flavor. So when I originally read the recipe for this stew, I thought, this is not stew. There's no like real vegetables in it. But then when I read the blurb, I was like, of course. What is taters? It makes sense. They are really sticking to the story here, and that's why there's no potatoes in this stew. However, there are lots of other delicious ingredients, including 1.5 pounds of rabbit, but it does say here that you could also use chicken thighs, which are obviously more accessible and definitely cheaper, because when I tell you, the only option in my area for a rabbit, it was $26, and it's a whole rabbit. I have to try to like chop it up or something, I don't know. So normally this is not the price range I go for dinner. However, it was just kind of like a special thing. I've had rabbit lots of times before, but I've never cooked it myself. So I am quite curious how it's gonna go. Okay, for this recipe, you will need some rabbit, or as I stated before, you can use chicken thighs if that's your vibe. I also have some tomato paste, 3 onions, salt, bay leaves. There is some dried sage in there. I also have olive oil, sugar, minced garlic, red wine vinegar, pepper, and allspice. All right, so in the way of prep work, we just need to slice up our onions. I once had someone tell me that if I put a wet paper towel next to my onions, that it won't hurt my eyeballs and make me cry, but I'm extremely sensitive to onions. And this is like my least favorite thing, which is why you'll notice my onions are always chopped like so terribly, because I'm just basically doing it blind and as fast as I can. Pretty safe. Seriously, I have one more onion to cut and I like physically cannot. Like, I need to teach my 7-year-old how to cut onions for me. I can do it. One more. Oh! Ah. All right, we need 1.5 pounds of rabbit. Now I have a little scale over here. I'm gonna weigh it out because I'm not really sure how much that is. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to cut a rabbit up. I feel like this looks very graphic. Even though I've cut up plenty of chickens, I think I need a fillet knife. Normally this is my fish skinning knife, but it's also my sharpest knife, and that's why I'm gonna go with it. I don't know what I'm doing here. Again, this just feels extremely graphic to me, even though it's just meat and I cook meat all the time and I roast whole chickens all the time. For some reason, the fact that it is perfectly rabbit shaped is messing with my brain a little bit, but it'll be fine. All right, you guys, I have my 1.25 pounds. I didn't quite get 1.5 pounds off of that rabbit of meat. I'm sure I did a terrible job, and I'm sure there's loads of meat still on that carcass, but I did not anticipate that being so difficult. And yeah, maybe I'll make some broth out of it later. But this is what $26 of rabbit buys you. Anyway, time to cook it. All right, so we're gonna make a little rub for our rabbit. We're gonna start with black pepper. It says half a teaspoon of ground black pepper, but I'm just gonna do a lot. I'm just gonna measure it with my eyes. I don't know. All right, next we have allspice. I had to go to the store and buy this because I don't ever use allspice for anything. I don't even really know what it tastes like. Oh, but once I smell it, I know exactly what it is. Yeah, not something I cook with ever. I had to go all the way to the store and make that happen. Now we have 2 teaspoons of, it says finely chopped thyme or sage. I have some dried sage, so I'm just gonna do one of these. All right, a little seasoning mix here. Make sure all my sage is all broken up. All right, I'm just gonna mix that onto our rabbit bits that are all sorts of different flippin' sizes because that was really hard. And I should have Googled that before I tried it. All right, now I've got my Dutch oven over here because this is gonna go in the oven actually to braise. All right, and once that oil is heated up a bit, we are going to just brown the rabbit. All right, that seems sufficiently browned to me, I guess. All right, next we're gonna throw our onions in there. I feel like it needs more oil. I don't know, that is so many onions though. Like, geez. With our onions, we're gonna put our sugar in too. 2 teaspoons of sugar, which I think is an interesting way to caramelize onions. And we're actually going to bump these down to like low, and we're gonna let these caramelize for like 15 minutes. All right, so while my onions are caramelizing away, I'm gonna go ahead and open my wine. So I've chosen, it just says red wine. I've chosen Apothic Red, my husband's favorite red wine, or maybe wine in general is Apothic wine, all of their varieties. You know, use what you like, but this is what we like. So, sorry, I had to set it down. There we go. Ooh. I've tried so many different types of wine and pairing it with such lovely food and high quality wines and cheap wines, and I don't get it. I just can't get down on wine. It makes me so sad because I feel like people who really get wine get so much out of it. It's just not me. I'm not here for it. Cooking with it, definitely. I love the savory complexity it adds to dishes. But in a glass, no thank you. I would rather have a cold beer. Next, we're supposed to add 3 minced garlic cloves. I always just keep a jar of minced garlic, and I do about a teaspoon per clove, which is probably a little more than what a singular clove would give us. All right, now it's time to add our red wine vinegar. We need 3 ounces of that. And we need 1 cup of our red wine, which does leave plenty for my husband to enjoy later. All right, now we're supposed to bring this back up to a boil and let it reduce about 1/3. And at this point, we are going to add our tomato paste. I feel like 1/4 cup is a lot of tomato paste. Like, I think my whole tube is about to be gone after this. Jeez. There we go. Next, we're supposed to add a little salt. And the other 2 recipes I have had from this cookbook have really been undersalted. So I can't believe it literally says a little salt. We're gonna put a whole teaspoon in. And it'll probably need more than that when it comes out, but I would hate to oversalt it. All right, now we're going to put our rabbit meat back in. The last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add 2 bay leaves in here, which are also super expensive, by the way. I wish I lived in a climate where I could grow a bay tree. Is that what it is? I don't know. Because this jar was like $12. Okay, so according to the cookbook, rabbit is often kind of tough. So that's why we're braising it. So I have the oven set at 300 degrees and we're going to cook it for 2 hours. And the cookbook also says that if you're using chicken, you're gonna want to cook it for an hour and a half. So I am going to set it for an hour and a half just because my rabbit pieces are a little bit small and I would hate to make them tough and overdone. So I'm gonna set it for an hour and a half and then I'm gonna come take a look and then put it in for another half hour if we need to. All right, perfect timing because it's like almost dinner time right now. So let's see how we did after an hour and oh my gosh. I mean, it's reading like not something you should eat. I'm not gonna say what I think it looks like, but I think you know. But in real life, it smells very good. This is something that I would serve over rice or potatoes, again with the taters. This isn't something I would like eat a bowl of. All right, lucky for me, I actually had some rice pouches that I didn't even have to cook. So we are gonna serve this over rice, although it does not say that in the book. I think maybe a crusty bread would be good. Obviously, taters precious would be ideal. Honestly, this smells so incredibly savory. I'm very excited. I really thought there was too many onions involved in this, but now that I see how they've reduced and given it this incredible color, it makes sense. I bet he's good at catching rabbits. Are you excited?
Yes.
I think of the 3 things that we've tried from this cookbook,
This is the best.
this is easily the best.
It's really good.
The rabbit is super tender. It's really nice and oniony.
The wine gives it a sweetness.
Yeah, it's really good. Was it worth $26 for that rabbit?
I would say no.
No. I'll use chicken thighs next time. And yeah, like obviously the process was pretty simple. There aren't like a ton of ingredients in this. There's no carrots or potatoes or peas or anything like how I would throw into like a stew. It's delicious. And I would do this again, like with that combination of things with the red wine vinegar, which you can really tell I used it without it being like
Overpowering.
yeah, if that makes sense.
It's really good.
Yeah. If you've never had rabbit, it's a lot like chicken. It's like white meat. It's super tender though. Like braising it really was.
The best way.
Yeah, really good choice. All right, you guys, that was our final dish because we're about to watch the 3rd movie, or we're in the middle of watching the 3rd movie. So this ends our little series, but I hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't watch those other 2 recipes, make sure you give those a watch. If you love cookbook content, if there's a specific cookbook you really love or want me to check out, please leave any recommendations down below. Anything you think would make fun content, I love it. I actually got a Downton Abbey cookbook for Christmas. So I'm thinking maybe we need to have like a fancy British dinner coming up. You like that idea?
Oh yeah.
So stay tuned for all those adventures and I'll see you guys in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.